Good evening. I'd like to call the Village Board meeting for the Village of Cary, June 2nd, 2026, to order with roll call, please.
Collier.
Here.
Dudak.
Here.
McAlpine.
Here.
Persino.
Here.
Stefani.
Here.
Walrath.
Here.
Koenig.
Here, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now moving to the open forum. Nick?
All right. This public comment period is intended for comments on items that are not otherwise listed on tonight's agenda. It provides an opportunity for residents to raise general matters for the board's awareness. Later this evening, the board will consider a specific agenda item related to the Maplewood property. If you wish to comment on that item, we respectfully ask you to hold those comments until that item is called. In accordance with the village's policy displayed at the sign-in table, comments during general public comment are limited to 3 minutes per person. Speaking time may not be transferred or combined. You may only speak one time throughout the meeting and cannot go up a second time in order to respect everyone else's opportunity. Good.
Thank you. Peter Spizzirri.
Hi, everyone. Good to see all of you again. I'm Peter Spizzirri, 308 Sterling Circle in Cary. I'm here to talk about support for National Night Out. For transparency, let me share that I'm a founding member of the Cary Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association, a 501c3 not-for-profit organization, and a member of the board of directors of the Cary Grove Area Crime Stoppers. National Night Out is one of the top 10 Cary events every year at this point. Last year, between 1,000 and 1,500 attended the single evening event, which was capped off with another wonderful fireworks display. This year's event, our 15th annual National Night Out in Cary, is going to be held Thursday, August 6th. Our local Crime Stoppers team has supported this event in recent years with a $2,000 donation per year. This year, I've made a request for additional funding from Crime Stoppers, as so many of our local businesses have been under financial pressure or unfortunately closed, and many of our vendor costs have gone up. I believe everyone, though, should be involved in supporting National Night Out. I'd like you to know more about Crime Stoppers for a moment, and that Crime Stoppers presented 3 $1,500 checks last month to Cary Grove graduating seniors, totaling $4,500. Crime Stoppers is a terrific community team that does truly good things quietly in the background. Thanks to my brother Paul, Spizzirri Law is making a donation of $1,000 to the Cary Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association directed to National Night Out. This puts our family's financial support of Cary where our voices have been for many years. Our Cary Citizens Police Academy president, Melissa Victor, couldn't be here tonight to receive the check due to a family situation. I'll be bringing the check to her directly. Crime Stoppers funds come primarily from a golf outing. Each of you have in front of you a flyer from last year's Adams McLeod golf outing. This year's will be at Foxford Hills Friday, September 18th. I'd like you to have a better sense of the golf outing rather than me just say the words. And as I ask Crime Stoppers for money, I want you to know that we're putting our money where our mouth is, that we're becoming more involved as well. Please sign up and play, of course, but most importantly, I ask that each of you as trustees or the mayor or the administrators reach out to your friends and contacts and look for National Night Out support. It's a direct request for financial support. And please reach out to Melissa Victor for any questions. I'm always available to you as always. And for those that have known me for the last several decades, truly you know that I'm endlessly a cheerleader for our Village of Cary. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for all you do for National Night Out and the Citizens Police Academy.
And
is
thanks
noted.
to the Village, too, because God knows there's all sorts of background things the Village does to support that night, too.
Thank you. Next one that signed in is Chris Nagodi.
My
Oh, he's on Maple, okay. Ann Kraus? Maplewood? No, you're just wanting to be known that you're here, right? Ann Kraus is here. No worries.
Yes, I'm here from Maplewood.
All right, thank you. Okay, anybody else want to speak about anything other than what's on the agenda for tonight? Okay, we'll go ahead and close open forum at 6:05. I have a couple items on my report tonight. We have a proclamation for Law Enforcement Civilian Personnel Appreciation Week. Whereas dedicated law enforcement civilian personnel serve the people of Illinois to provide them with vital services, and whereas these professionals continually use their expertise and experience for critical duties, including maintaining criminal justice statistics and improving apprehension strategies, and whereas law enforcement civilian personnel serving throughout Illinois exhibit professionalism, efficiency, and compassion during the performance of their essential duties, and whereas the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police has designated the first week of June, beginning the first Sunday of the month, as time to recognize law enforcement civilian personnel. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Mark Koenig, Mayor of the Village of Cary, call upon the residents of Cary to observe the first full week of June 2026 as Law Enforcement Citizen Personnel Appreciation Week, who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to the Village of Cary. Dated the second day of June 2026. And I'm thrilled that we have Dawn and Melissa, who pretty much run our police department. And if we didn't have them, we wouldn't be as efficient as we are today. So thank you very much. I'm going to toss it over to Chief Hayes.
Thank you, Mayor. As you alluded to, aside from being the first face that anybody sees when they come in our police department, we truly could not function. There's very few people in our organization that if they didn't show up to work, we couldn't function. Our records is the backbone of our department. There is so much that goes on behind the scenes that's not forward-facing, that's critical and essential to us accomplishing our mission. So it's really cool that you guys are behind it this week. I just wanted to personally thank you for all that you guys do. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Chief. A couple of legislative updates. I've been talking a lot over the last couple of months about the BUILD Act that the governor has been trying to impose on all the municipalities throughout the state. And we were fortunate enough that we were able to fend this off at this particular time, but he has vowed to bring that back. It probably won't be the summer session, but it will probably come back during the fall veto session. You know, what that entails is that it takes away all of the municipality's local zoning authority. So you would be able to sell your house to a developer in a single-family neighborhood, say on a quarter-acre lot, which most of the Village of Cary has, and then you could put up a six-flat without any public information, any public comment, any municipal input, any notification, no public hearings, no open houses or anything. By right, that would give a resident the opportunity to build whatever they want on their particular lot. So we were very fortunate enough that we had a lot of the support of the legislature that backed us on these things because we as individual communities, have the right to decide what's best for us with the public input that we get. That said, we weren't as fortunate with the transit bill that went into effect yesterday, June 1st. That takes away all of our parking authority within a half-a-mile radius of our train depot. So any developer can come in and purchase a piece of property and not accommodate for any type of parking whatsoever. It also gives the new NETA board, which is the Northern Illinois Transportation Authority, which is replacing the RTA, the authority to condemn property for high-density housing with no regard for parking or no regard to what our comprehensive planning has called for. Again, no public input, no public hearings or anything. This is happening by right. So we will continue to look to amend that particular part of the bill, but we're happy that we were able to postpone any type of a law that would be imposing taking away all of our zoning restrictions. You know, just as you know, we're dealing with a big thing right now. The Village of Cary is not afraid of housing. There is not any mayor in the state of Illinois or village board or council that is not afraid of housing. We do what we need to do for our own individual communities, what we've planned for, what our community is looking for, how we can adapt to various situations. We have that right to do that. We don't need the state coming in and telling us this is what's going to happen. So we are very fortunate that our legislators are behind us on this, and we will continue to work on this over the summer. So that is my update on that. So moving forward, I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items A through J is shown on, I'm sorry, I should say A through E and G through K. I am pulling off F because this truck is not available. So approving A through E and G through K as displayed on the video monitor and on our website.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Dudak,
Yes.
Stefani,
Yes.
Persina,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Walrith,
Yes.
Walrith, sorry,
Yes.
Collier.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now moving to our one item for the separate action, I will entertain a motion to approve an ordinance granting approval of a zoning map amendment and plan development for Cary Station PUD.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Did you want to read the?
Good evening. Before we get started with the public comment on this item on Cary Station, we'd like to take a moment to explain tonight's procedures that will follow. The board first wants to acknowledge the level of interest and care the community has shown to date regarding this project. It was well attended at the Plan Commission meeting, and obviously there are individuals here this evening that want to speak to this project. The item before the board this evening is the consideration of an ordinance granting approval of a zoning map amendment and plan development for the Cary Station PUD. This is not a zoning public hearing. The public hearing on this matter has taken place. It took place last month before the Planning and Zoning Commission. Some of you that are here attended that hearing. You had an opportunity at that hearing, full and fair opportunity, to address your concerns about the project, the issues that you wanted the Plan Commission to be aware of, and any testimony or evidence you wanted to present regarding this project. Even though tonight's item is not a public hearing, that has already been held, the board believes it is important to hear from you residents and from everyone who took time to join us here this evening. Once again, in accordance with village policy, public comments are limited, as has been noted, to 3 minutes per person. Speaking time may not be transferred or combined. To be fair to everyone who wishes to speak and to help us manage what may be overlapping comments, we respectfully ask that if your perspectives have already been shared, you note your agreement with those comments for the board and use your time to focus on any additional matters or points that you would like to bring to the attention of the board. As noted earlier in the meeting by staff, public comment is intended to allow the board to listen and receive input. It is not a question and answer session in real time. Questions will not be answered immediately, but we will take note of any and all questions that are presented or posed. They will be compiled, and the board can request additional clarification from staff or the development team based on those questions as needed later in our meeting. Throughout the process, we ask that comments be directed to the board as a whole and that everyone remain respectful. The village board appreciates your attendance, your participation, and your engagement in this matter.
Thank you, Attorney Euler. I'm going to turn this over to Director Simmons.
Thank you, Mayor. Village Board, the request before the board this evening is related to the redevelopment of the Maplewood School property. As proposed, the proposed development will be titled the Cary Station, and there are two actionable items that are under consideration, which is the zoning map amendment to rezone the property for the project, and also the approval of residential PUD. As the board and public's aware, there's been a long history with this property. I won't go through all of the history, but since the closing of the school back in 2010, the village has worked with the school district and various developers that had the project property under contract at times on potential redevelopment of the site. The village's comprehensive plan was updated 5 years after the closing of the school that sought the type of development that was to potentially occur on the site. More recent history is shown on the slide when 3 former developers were unable to pursue the development of the property. The village of Cary acquired the property from the school district through an IGA with the school district to assist with the relocation of the transportation center from the property to elsewhere in town. And last summer, that project went through our zoning process, received approval, is currently under construction just across the street here in this area of town. The school district is looking to complete their construction within the next month or so, which will allow for the redevelopment of this property. Following the acquisition of the property from the school district, the village pursued a request for proposals to solicit developer interest in the site for the potential redevelopment of the property. As part of that, as the board's aware, the village entered into a preliminary agreement with JM Developers for the site early last year, and then has been working with the development team on the proposed plans, held various public open houses, which the information is in your packet this evening from those meetings, and made revisions to the plan based off the feedback that had been received. In January this year, the village entered into a redevelopment agreement with the development team for the project. And most recently, in May, the Zoning Board of Appeals held a public hearing regarding the petition before you this evening. As summary of the petition that's being proposed under the current zoning of the the property is R2 single-family residential district. That does not align with the current recommendations of the future land use plan in the comprehensive plan, which calls for the site to be multifamily. And as such, the developer is seeking to rezone the property for their proposed project from the R2 district to the PO, Park and Open Space, and the B1 Central Business District related to the different land uses proposed on the site, and then also is seeking approval of a planned development for a 280-unit development, which will have various zoning departures from the zoning regulations. Those departures are summarized on the slide, but essentially include the building separation side to side for various structures on the property with the duplexes, townhomes, and detached single-family homes. Since the public hearing before the zoning board, staff has had additional discussions with the development team on the project, and there's a slight revision to the accessory garages for the single-family detached homes that would provide a 0-foot setback or a shared wall between 2 of those structures to allow for additional parking to be provided between those garages. So each single-family detached structure will now have 3 parking spaces in lieu of 2 as originally proposed. All the other provisions as presented are similar to what was presented to the zoning board as far as the building setback, departure along Prairie Street, departure for building height for the 2 5-story structures, a departure for off-street parking reduction for just the multifamily portion of the project. The single-family portion of the project will meet and exceed code for required parking. And then 2 other departures for the landscape transition yard along the west property line and a increase in the number of monument signs from 1 to 2 for the project. This slide shows the, the revised site plan with the modifications to the single-family detached structures and their accessory garages, but the rest of the site, the balance of the site remains the same, and then some of the elevations have been updated as well. I'll go into more detail as far as what the departures are requested, but this time I'm turn the presentation over to the developer to provide more information on their project, what they're seeking to develop, and then I'll be happy to clarify again what the approvals are requested for the board this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. I'm Brian Kronwitter, representing JM Development. Very excited to be in front of you for this fantastic opportunity to redevelop a very important portion of Cary in the downtown area. So I'd like to walk you through some of the information. First, a brief overview of the team. JM Development is a combination of John Cordigan, Jay, and Michael Polikides, who are in the audience. They came together having worked together on previous opportunities and development opportunities to really become a holistic developer that is led with a architecture and engineering and construction perspective. Cordigan Clark is the architecture, engineering, and construction perspective that is the entity that is going to be providing the architecture, as you can see, coming up, as well as will be doing a joint venture with Bush Construction, who is a fantastic partner to have on this project. JTE is Michael's company that has blended with the Cordigan Clark team to create the JM Development opportunity, who has lots of experience developing a number of pretty significant developments, such as the one in Aurora, the old Copley Hospital redevelopment. So that's really been a very successful development. Bush Construction, and Brent here is representing Bush. They're a partner in the development side as well as a partner on the construction side. They have extensive experience doing developments such as this, as well as other commercial construction, and we really welcome their perspective and their ability to help us make sure this project is a success from a construction standpoint. Pinnacle is a pretty large civil engineering firm that does a variety of different services. They are local here in West Dundee and have been very active in making sure the site development is appropriate for stormwater drainage, as well as tying into utilities, and they're represented here today if you have any questions from them. The team, as you can see, lots of people behind the scenes who will be helping us execute the project, who have lots of experience developing and designing, building, and engineering multifamily projects. A little overview of some of the projects here. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on that, but you can see a variety of architecture styles, interior styles that we use that to help inform us as we're designing these projects. One thing is actually about a year ago here in June, we did some outreach, which was very important for us to hear feedback from the community in 2 sessions in June, the 18th and 25th, as well as some meetings for the local businesses. We really were provided a lot of very useful information to help us revise and modify the development from the get-go to really react to some of the scale of the design, to go from a lower height, more single-family type ownership and duplexes and townhomes up to those are 2-story, up to a 4-story apartment building that's closer to the new access road, and then 5 stories will be adjacent to the new access road. The 2 5-stories actually have been, this came about through some of the input, dropped down to 4 stories on the 2 ends to really help to scale the project appropriately to be cohesive. Brian Simmons showed you the site plan to the left. Again, that's the general layout of the site plan. As I mentioned previously, the neighborhood are all mostly 1- and 2-story residential properties, and we want to be cognizant of that scale as we moved from transitioning from the neighborhood into the development. So you see to the south the single-family homes, which with detached garages, and they have actually been combined together to allow us to get another our parking space onto that, because there were some concerns about potential parking for the single-family homes. Moving to the north are 2-story townhomes. These are all owned by They'll be for sale units, and those are 3 buildings with 6 units each. And then to the east are the duplexes, 2-story duplexes that have 2-car garages as well as driveways you can park additional cars in. And then the apartment, the rental portion of the development is surrounded by call it a ring road, if you will, that has access from the new access road. That is the only access into the apartment development. There is another access point for the single family homes off of Krenz, which has a small driveway connected to the back drive that goes to the garages. That is not able to communicate into the actual apartment and townhome and duplex development side. The apartments are, the first apartment is number 1, call it the southeast or southwest version or portion of the site. That is a 4-story apartment building, and then going up to the north is apartment building 2, and then to the east is apartment building 3. The breakdown, this shows the tags for the actual development. This is showing the apartment buildings, which, as I just mentioned, apartment building number 1 is a 4-story building with 87 units, a combination of studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, and a handful of 3 bedrooms. Moving to the north in the apartments, building number 2 is a 5-story that actually steps down to 4 on the 2 ends of that complex. That has 56 units of the same similar ratio between studios, 1s and 2s, and a few 3s. Apartment building 3 is the largest one. That's the iconic building that has a tower at the corner, the knuckle, if you will, of the structure. That is the largest building, and you can see the mix of units for that. So that's the apartment complex. There's plenty of parking. Actually, buildings, all 3 buildings have parking underneath them too. And the parking you can see is noted here at the bottom of the text. You have 235 covered spaces in the apartments. Those are all on the first floor of the 3 buildings. Then you have 215 surface spaces scattered around the apartment complex, bringing that total parking for apartments at 531 spaces. Moving on to the for sale units, the duplexes off to the east, or excuse me, the west. There are 2 units per building. As I mentioned before, 2 2-car garages as well as 2 spaces in the driveways. The townhome units, there's 3 of those, and that's tag number 5. And there are 5 units per building and 2 covered parking and 2 driveway parking spaces. The single family, there was a slight tweak on that, which we pushed the 2 detached garages together, so the 0 property line, shared property line for those garages to allow us to actually accommodate another driveway space. And you can see those spaces are shown into each one, so you get an additional space for the single family units. Yes, sir.
Just go back to that slide real quick. Just notice there's the rental apartment parking, there's an error on the slide as far as the number of spaces. I can correct it in my slide, but that shows what the code requirement is versus what is actually provided on site.
Okay.
It's a small error, but I'll correct it when I get to my presentation.
All right, moving on. This is a rendered site plan. So we took all the text off of that, and you can see some of the entourage of what we envision. There'll be plenty of green space that is intermixed throughout the development. There are 3 stormwater basins. One to the north is actually bigger than we initially planned for based on the access road requiring more stormwater detention cubic feet of water to be stored in an event. The middle basin is, again, these are intended to be dry basins until there is a rain event that would store the water for a certain time and then percolate out to the stormwater system. So those are the 2 larger stormwater basins to the north and in the middle of the apartment complex. And then there's a smaller basin to the southeast that is enough to accommodate all the impervious development in the entire development. The park, as I haven't mentioned yet, but again, this is it'll be a park district owned and managed, run piece of land there. We will build out to their specifications what the intended play equipment might look like. There's another, where was the other park that's nearby that they would model this on? Do you remember, Brian?
It's similar to other community parks like Hampton Park, which is in this area. There's a smaller park space with playground equipment for the neighborhood.
Yeah, we met with the park district, and that was the information we gleaned from that initial meeting. And likely that will be one of the last phases done, because we need to store soils and so on, topsoil, as we're developing the property, and then the park would come in towards the latter part of the development. There is a turnaround to the north. You can see that round cul-de-sac looking item. That's for fire department turnaround. So we have plenty of fire access, and the fire department has looked at this and has given us the preliminary green light that this is appropriate development. There is an amenity. You can see a pool that's located at the larger building to the south and west of the larger building. And to the south of that is a decent-sized green space. We'll be calling that a dog park. So mostly just green space for walking your dog. Plenty of sidewalks in and around the facility to utilize the development, get familiar with the neighborhoods. Moving on to the architecture. So we have made a few updates from the planning and zoning on this, I call it the iconic apartment building. We added some signage to that. We believe that is an appropriate addition that will give it some feeling of permanence, as well as allow the tower to have a little more significance when looking down from the railroad tracks and the highway. Generally, that's the most of the change that has happened on that, and a few little minor tweaks to the fenestration. But generally, this is in keeping with a permanent architecture. We have brick. We can see that in that orangish red tint. Again, that's very traditional, yet it's got some modern flair to it with the fenestration, the windows, and then the grayish, darkish gray area is a cementitious siding called, probably heard of Hardy siding. That's a very good product for commercial development. So it'll be either horizontal lap siding or board and batten siding you can see in the architecture. There is a gray band. That'll be a cast stone. You can see that up about 4 feet. So you have a little traditional stone that's been introduced to the architecture too. We're looking at some overhangs, a more exaggerated overhang at the eaves, to give it a little more sense of prairie style that is very common in Illinois. So that's the Icon building, and then looking on to the single-family homes, we're looking at variety. The last planning and zoning, we had just really one model that we had modeled before, but the intent is that these 12 homes will have a little bit of variety to them. Color, types of siding, maybe roof types. So the intent is to give it some character and make it feel like a real neighborhood instead of a track neighborhood that doesn't have a lot of variety. Again, you'll see the use of brick in and around the front entrances. And this will be an option that our home buyers will be able to select from how much brick they want and some other upgrades. But we'll give the home buyers some options to add a little character that still is within keeping of the architecture, but some variety. Another interior shot looking at the pool, as well as in the background, the apartment complex. You can see the balconies that are intermixed throughout the project. Not every apartment has one. Studios typically don't have a hung balcony, and then some of the Icon building that has the tower, we didn't put balconies on that because it felt like it was competing with the architecture. But generally, everybody has a balcony. These are the townhomes. Again, the intent here, maybe it doesn't come off as well, but you can see some different colors, some roof variations in that. And we're not necessarily completely sold that this is the absolute final product. We might do a few more minor tweaks to it, but generally we're trying to get a little variety in the townhomes. We didn't show as much variety at the planning and zoning, and we felt that this would be a good way to emphasize some less homogeneous architecture and a little more variety. Some of the interiors that we have looked at potentially, again, this is still a work in progress, but intent is to have it feel modern and open, and the ability to make it really resonate as a modern product here for the Village of Cary. Site amenities, of course, you know, the playground based on what the Park District runs and then maybe some other components. Some other interiors from other projects. So we use all these as inspiration to develop interiors that are sellable and meet the market demand. So now we're moving into a few more renderings. These are bird's eye, I call them bird's eye renderings, showing the entire site development. And you get a feel for the scale and the transition from 2-story up to 4 stories at the apartment level to the south, and then the 5-story, the 2 buildings, number 2 and number 3, which also come down at the edges, the ends of the building, to go down to 4 stories to really help that transition of scale that we were trying to be cognizant of to really react to some of the information we received from the neighbors. It's a roof shot, so you don't get a lot of flavor for the architecture, but you get a feel for the entourage, the green space, and the stormwater basins will be normally dry. Another perspective, bird's eye, a little less high up, but you get a feel for the money shot of the Icon building number 3, facing the downtown and the metro station. Believe that's really going to give it some character and allow the development to really be successful. Again, the interior of the development looks very actively green, which is, I think, on purpose there. The stormwater basin will likely have plantings in there that will be appropriate for when it's wet, so they won't flood out and kill it. But it'll be maintained appropriately, so we're not full of a bunch of cattails that have to be maintained. So. And then just switching around from a different perspective of looking more for at the for sale units towards the railroad tracks. You see the garages for the single families have been combined to allow us to provide some more parking for visitors who might come. Krenz also has pull-off parking too. By the way, there's probably room for 22, 23 spaces along Krenz. So if you have a visitor coming over, they could park along Krenz, park on your driveway too, or even in the garage if you're not using your 2-car garage. Money shot of the building number 3 with the tower, showing the materials that we have proposed as well as the balconies. The lower level there with all the windows, that's the amenity space. So you got clubhouse space, some conference space, office space. So it gives a little more of a commercial feel, even though there's no commercial there, but gives you a feel of semi-mixed use architecture. But the intent is to make it look like it belongs and not just a wall of parking in this building there. So this is looking on the back side of that building number 3 where the pool is, and you can again see some of the amenity space that's articulated with more windows, to give the appearance of transparency and to really respond to the outdoor space for the residents that use the development. This perspective shows the required ventilation for the parking structure that's below the 3 levels. We're not necessarily sold on louvers look. It may be an open screen, some kind of screen. You have to get enough ventilation in there, but Again, just want to show you there'll be ventilation open. This has to be at least 50% open so we can ventilate the parking area. Landscaping is intended to not necessarily replicate this, but be very well done so that the community looks mature when it's opened, and over 5 years or so, it'll look very, very, very solidly mature. So these are just more blow-up perspectives that we had previously shown. So that's the stills. We did a fly around. I'd like to just let you watch, and we'll take any questions after this. So one last item, Brian Simmons has all the detail associated with which he'd already mentioned, some of the variations that we requested during the zoning process. I don't want to get into the weeds on this because Brian's got plenty of background if anybody needs to get more on that. Just, again, like to thank you for entrusting our team to make this development fantastic, and we're really excited to move forward and break some ground here this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. We'll be back in touch. Let Brian take it from here, please.
All right, I'll quickly go through kind of the final slides here, but just to summarize of what the project is proposed and what the board approval would be this evening. As Brian mentioned, the project will include a mixture of single-family product and multifamily product. Would be a total of 280 units with the mixture of single-family and multifamily products as shown on the slide. Be a mixture of detached homes, townhomes, duplexes, studio, 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartment units overall for the project. As previously mentioned, the comprehensive plan designates the property for future land use map, designates the property for multifamily development. There's no proposed change to this designation as part of the petition, as the project will be proposing to develop the site with that proposed land use. So under the comprehensive plan, there's various guidance throughout the document for the type of development that is appropriate for the site, including the recommendations for apartments, condominiums, senior housing, or residential development, townhome developments. So the proposed development in this case is compliant with the proposed recommendations of the comprehensive plan and the guidance provided within it. Similarly, within the downtown Cary strategic plan, the site was identified specifically within Goal 1, Strategy 2, within the plan as far as increasing the housing supply and types of housing within and near the downtown core. As you can see on the slide, one of the recommendations was that the Maplewood development should include a mixture of housing types, such as multifamily buildings, single-family attached townhomes or row homes, or potentially small lot, single-family detached units, along with added open space and connections to the metro station, downtown, and surrounding residential neighborhood. The developer's taken that guidance into effect within their plan, and the majority of those elements are actually produced or reproduced in their site plan development for this site. Similarly, within the downtown strategic plan, there are various design guidelines that will help to shape the type of development that should occur within downtown. These are summarized in the slide, but generally with urban form, there's recommendations for staggering building heights. So within the proposed plan, as you go from the southwest to the northeast of the site, building heights ramp up as you go away from the existing residential neighborhood to the 5-story structures, so that limits the impacts on the surrounding neighborhood. Additionally, with the 5-story buildings, there are upper floor setbacks at the end of the structures that'll help to reduce the massing of those buildings. So there are 4 stories at the end caps of each of those 2 buildings, and then 5 stories in the center of those structures. And then from the architecture, as Brian had mentioned, there are various elements that are included in the design of the building that will provide significant articulation for the facade. You have portions of the facade that are stepped back with balconies and other design elements that are incorporated in there that give each structure a unique look from a design perspective that also help to break up their massing. Additionally, from the architecture, although you have essentially 4 different housing types on the property, there's a unified design between all those elements where a similar architectural style has been utilized that will help to reduce the monotony of structures on the site, but also cohesiveness for the development as well. And then with the corner entrance elements for the building 3, the tower feature will provide more of a identifying feature for that entrance to that structure and identify the project as well with the new signage as proposed. Additionally, from a site landscape perspective, there's various pedestrian elements that have been incorporated for walking paths throughout the development. Extensive landscaping will be provided, and then within the detention basins, we'll utilize natural vegetation to assist with water filtration and stormwater management. As one of the action items that's being requested, the current designation of the property with the zoning is R2 single-family residential. As I mentioned earlier, the zoning classification currently is not in sync with the village's comprehensive plan future land use map, which designates the property for multifamily. That's as part of the development proposal, the petitioner is seeking to rezone the property to align with the comprehensive plan with the change to the PO Park and Open Space District for the proposed park, and also the B1 Central Business District for the proposed residential PUD. The PO district is similar to other park properties within the village that are owned public park properties, and the B1 is consistent with properties located at the east of the site within downtown Cary. Within the proposed PUD, the second item that's up for an actionable item this evening, there are various departures from the underlying zoning requirements, which there are 6 departures that are identified. As mentioned earlier, the first is a building setback along Prairie Street. Their code requirement is a setback of 20 feet along that roadway, and one of the townhome buildings will encroach slightly into that at the end of Prairie Street, and it will be reduced to 15 feet. But the entire structure is beyond the end of that roadway. The second departure is for the builder's separation side to side for the various single-family structures on the property, specifically the duplex buildings, which is shown in the lower right-hand corner of the slide. Will have a setback between the separation between the structures of 6 feet at the garage portion of those buildings. So that would be the inward-facing facade facing the Cary Square street, And then the rest of the structure would be 18-foot separation from the residential portion of the structures. The townhome buildings in the larger insert would have a separation of 10 feet. So that would be a reduction from the code requirement of 15 feet to 10 feet. And then the single-family detached homes would also have a reduction from 15 feet to 9 feet from the side-to-side separation for the structures. As mentioned, one revision that has been made since the zoning hearing is the modifications to the accessory garages. As you can see on this slide, the structures will be combined to share a common wall between interior lot lines. So two single-family homes will essentially share half of a detached garage structure, so it'll be 4 garage units within that structure, 2 per unit. And that change was made to allow for additional off-street parking between those garages. So each single-family detached home now will have 3 parking spaces provided to them when code requires a minimum of 2 spaces. The third departure is for the building height. Under the B1 zoning district, the maximum building height is 50 feet. And there will be the 2 5-story buildings will require a departure to increase above that 50-foot requirement. As proposed, the duplex buildings, townhomes, a single-family detached, and the 4-story multifamily building will all comply with that 50-foot requirement. The 2 5-story buildings will increase the height from 50 feet to 58.6 feet as measured to the midpoint of their roof. Additionally, the tower element, which is on the northeast corner of Building 3, will increase to 70 feet for that proposed structure, but that'll be on the northernmost edge of the property away from the existing residential neighborhoods. As mentioned during Brian's presentation, the parking for the project, there's a departure that's requested. The code requirement, as was indicated in the developer slide, was 531 parking spaces. That's what code would require to be provided. What is proposed is 350 parking spaces. So the 215 surface spaces plus the 135 interior spaces for the multifamily portion of the project is a slight reduction in the parking requirements from our code requirement of 2.25 spaces per unit down to roughly 1.5 spaces per unit. The proposal will, however, provide 1 parking space for each bedroom that's in the multifamily portion of the project. So essentially, with the number of bedrooms that are being constructed within development, each apartment or each unit would have essentially 1 space assigned to it on a per bedroom basis. The single family portion of the project, the duplexes, townhomes, and single family detached homes will all comply with code and actually will exceed the code requirement. Those portions of projects are required to have 2 spaces per unit. And for the duplexes and townhomes, they'll essentially have 4, 2 in the garage and 2 in the driveway. And the detached structures will have 3, again, 2 in the garage and 1 surface parking spot adjacent to the garage as well. The final 2 departures that are being requested is for the landscaping western transition yard. There is existing power lines that run along the western transition, the property line, which would be between the duplexes and the adjacent single-family home on School Street. The code requirement is for a Type B buffer yard, which generally includes 3 shade trees and 3 screening trees per 100 linear feet. The proposal is to modify that to include 9 shade trees set back off the property line a little further, potentially in the rear yards of the duplexes, and 59 large shrubs along that fence line, property line, so that they would not eventually grow up and compete with the power lines that are in that location. Similar to the southeast portion of the property, there's a Type B transition yard that is being provided, so there's not a conflict of utilities in that location. And that's adjacent to the proposed detention basin in the southeast corner of the property. That would have the required landscaping, but in addition, will also provide a 6-foot fence to the shared property line to the 3 residences that back up to the property in that location. Finally, the last departure that's being requested is for monument signs. Per code, the development's permitted 1 sign with a maximum of 24 square feet. The proposal is to provide 2 total signs, 1 at each entrance, with a maximum size of 55 square feet. Just for reference, it's not a departure that's been requested, but under the B1 district, the maximum density for a residential development is 18 units per acre. The proposal in this case will comply with code. It'll be 17.9 units per acre, essentially, so we'll comply with the B1 zoning requirements for total density for the site. Additionally, I mentioned the transition yard in the southeast corner will comply with code from a landscape requirement. We'll have the transition area B provided with a combination of 3 shade and 3 screening trays. And then also we'll have throughout the site building foundation plantings, parking lot landscaping, and then the stormwater basins will utilize natural vegetation to assist with water filtration, but also long-term maintenance from that standpoint. Finally, as the board is aware, we did not require the developer to provide a traffic study for the development, as the village currently is going through the design for the High Road Extension project. And the phase 1 of that study was completed in April of this year, which included a traffic study for the design of the roadway. And that study, we anticipated or contemplated that the site potentially would have been redeveloped with a 300-unit development. So the proposed 280 units as proposed as this point was less than what was studied for within that report. So the roadway will be adequately designed to accommodate the traffic that would be generated by the site. We're currently in phase 2 design work for the roadway, with construction scheduled to start on the roadway next year, which would line up with potential construction of this development as well. Finally, in summary, from the zoning board hearing, after reviewing the evidence that was provided during the hearing and the public comment and feedback that was presented before the zoning board did make a recommendation, determined that the various standards for both the map amendment and the plan development have been met in this case, and recommended by a vote of 4-2 approval of the 2 following motions. 1, approval of a map amendment to rezone the property from the R2 single-family residential district to the PO Park and Open Space District and the B1 Central Business District. And 2, the approval of the Cary Station plan development, subject to conditions that were listed in the staff report presented before you this evening in the draft ordinance as well. Happy to answer any questions that the board may have, and the developers here as well to answer questions also.
Anybody have any real immediate questions right now?
Any immediate questions right now? I'd like to go to the public comment, and then we can circle back on hear what they have to say, and we can all get our questions answered at the same time, if that works for everybody. As usual, I will go row by row and ask everybody if they have would like to address the village board. We will make note of your questions. If there's a question, if you have a statement, make a statement. If you have a question, we'll do our best to have it answered at the end of this public comment. So we'll go ahead and start first with the first row.
Hi, my name's Chris Nagoda, 1370 Mulberry. I am here once again to voice my objection to the current proposal for Maplewood. I feel it's a complete abomination. Several residents have expressed their comments and concerns to you all about the density, scope, scale, parking in the neighborhood, yet they fall on deaf ears. The board seems to have total disregard for the citizens they're supposed to represent. It's absolutely unconscionable. Shame on you all.
Next row, please.
Good evening. I just want to know, how large is a large shrub? Is it higher than this?
We can get specifics for you. I don't have the answer.
Will you
I would
call me
imagine
and
it's
answer me?
larger.
Call me or email me, or
We
since
will-
you have
we
my
will-
email.
Martha, we will get you the information.
Okay, I hope it's more than the 2 feet tree that you gave the other builder.
Hi, Christy Wagner, 539 Krenz. In considering the development of this size, in the development of this project, the size, the scope, the impact, it just doesn't seem to make sense that frankly, the Cary zoning board vote was 4-2. In my mind, it should have been either unanimous or we don't go forward. When I attended the Memorial Day ceremony last week, and we heard that we are standing on the shoulders of those who paid the ultimate price for our freedom, sadly, I feel like this entire process has eroded my confidence in civic engagement. I'm old enough to understand that change is part of life. It's the natural evolution of life. I get that, and I love living in Cary. But this development of this scope, this size, 5-story apartments, where else in our neighboring communities do we see 5-story buildings? It's just on a 14-acre piece of land. The density is just unbelievable. I've come to understand, but not accept, that it is for this administration, this PUD, it's a tick mark on a bigger agenda. And sadly, those of us who live and pay taxes to this village, this school district, this park district, this police and fire district, we are the losers in your grand, comprehensive, and strategic plan. I ask the board earnestly, the Maplewood community needs the dignity of considering our wishes, our hopes to retain a sense of community. And please do not approve this PUD.
Next row, is that the 4th row? We're going to stay on this side of the room, please, first.
All my comments have already been taken, but I do have a question, which is, it would really help me to know how many people that are going to be voting on this live in this area that's under consideration. So that's my question.
We all live in the village of Cary.
Well, not within.
But we
half a
work with
mile.
everybody that's, we take every comment into consideration. I will make my final comments when this is all over. I'd like to answer some of the questions that Christy has proposed as well. So we'll continue with the public comment. The next row is at row 5. Nothing. Row 6. Row 7.
Bill Rietveld, 551 Krenz Avenue. I'm not in favor of this. I've been here many, many times, and it's pissing into the wind, spitting into the wind, excuse my French. The comprehensive plan gets changed to suit your needs. The zoning board gets changed to suit your needs. It's a done deal. You know, if it was up to me, I'd like to see number 11, the park, get started first, okay, and 5 times as big. But that's not going to happen. The comprehensive plan states something about considering or take into consideration the needs of the surrounding area, the neighborhood. Well, we express our concerns, but the needs are not met. A few things change to make us, you know, a little happier, but it's a single-family detached neighborhood. And you guys want to change the footprint of downtown and that 14, 15-acre parcel to suit your needs. I don't know if my 3 minutes are up, but I've said my piece. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. We'll start up at the First row back here. Anybody on this side, the other?
Chris Ricky, 446 Lloyd Street. Every meeting you talk about the state and building and this and what they can build, the parking and whatnot. It doesn't matter if it goes through the state, but whatever gets the cities, it's not just Cary, but it's Crystal Lake, Woodstock. Whatever you come across a piece of property and the developer buys it, they tell you what they want to build. Doesn't matter what the residents say, it gets approved. They're doing it in Fox River Grove with that black across from the train station. People have no say-so when it comes to building property. All you are looking at is the dollar sign. Oh, we get more money, more tax money, more this. Doesn't matter who gets affected by it. Basically, this Maplewood development does not affect any of you because none of you live in that neighborhood whatsoever. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, well, can we this side? We'll start out on this side here. Anybody?
Paul and Gallinera, 575 Krenz Avenue. Just like some of the other individuals that have come up here and said, I've been up here many times, sharing my opinion on this entire project. I had the pleasure of having a night out in Arlington Heights a couple of nights ago. It was really nice. I haven't been downtown Arlington Heights in a long time. Their Al Fresco alley is fantastic and everything else. And I started to look around, and based on the renderings that we see here, it just reaffirms in my mind that what you want Maplewood to look like is a chunk of Arlington Heights. When you take a look at the north, the south, the east, the west of what these renderings look like, they look nothing like the rest of Cary, especially in that immediate neighborhood. It looks nothing like existing downtown. It looks nothing like the Frankie subdivision. It looks nothing like any of that. It looks like its own little pocket that resembles Arlington Heights. And we're not Arlington Heights, we are Cary. Our architecture and our designs are Cary designs. In preparation for the zoning board meeting and this meeting, since we're talking about zoning, I came across a handbook called the Zoning and Land Use Handbook. I don't know if you're familiar with it. If you're voting on zoning items, I would suggest that you become familiar with it, because Chapter 12 identifies something called spot zoning, which is heavily discouraged, even to the point where when groups of people challenge the zoning, whether from zoning boards or from village boards or city boards, courts tend to side with the residents of the village when they identify spot zoning. There was a case in 1979 and multiple cases after that. I'm going to cite McHenry, the Concerned Citizens for McHenry versus the City of McHenry, and the details of that complaint was almost identical to what we're talking about right here, with the exception it was 6 acres versus 14. But I just wanted everybody to be aware that something like this exists if you aren't already aware of it, and to bring it to your attention. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else that would like to address the village board? I'd like to open it up to village board for comment, but before we start that, did you want to talk about about the spot zoning, what he's talking about, how this does not apply to this?
There is a concept in the law of zoning, the legal principles that relate to zoning, that includes what would be considered spot zoning. It's an individualized determination based on all the circumstances related to a piece of property and a proposed development. Anybody could claim that anything is a spot zoning if they don't agree with the way it's being zoned. In this case, the board has considered the comprehensive plan that was approved in 2015. This development is consistent with that comprehensive plan that has been in place for an extended period of time. And it is, in that respect, compliant with one of the requirements related to zoning, which is not consistent with a spot zoning conclusion, that it is being zoned consistent with your overall planning in the village, including the comprehensive plan.
Thank you. Questions from the board, comments? Who wants to start? Trustee Walworth, you look like you're licking your chops.
I'm going to save her for a few more minutes as I compile some things. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else like to jump in?
I suppose I will go first.
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone who spoke tonight, and thank you to the development team. It should be said, from my perspective, that the prospect of no Maplewood and no baseball on this site is a sad prospect. Both are part of Cary's story and our history. They're not in our backyard necessarily, but they are part of our shared history. I went to kindergarten at Maplewood. Mrs. Graves was my teacher. I also played Cary Youth Baseball on those fields. Martha and I have spoken, and I told her I believe that she and myself and her son were on the same team. And I did bring photographic proof. Our coach is also in the room. Coach Miller, good to see you. But now we have a school that's been vacant for 16 years, and a lot of the ball players have made the switch from Cary Youth Baseball to travel baseball. Fields have been unused for approximately 4 years. Again, it's sad that the school and the ball fields could not continue, but they didn't. Over the 16-year period, District 26 had 4 conditional purchase agreements that were eventually terminated because those developers couldn't make the financing work for the infrastructure and the buildings, along with other challenges, I'm sure. Some residents in Cary have only ever known this to be a vacant property, and some of those residents are getting their driver's license this year. But we're now presented with a viable opportunity that requires compromise, or at least a healthy level of flexibility from the developer and from the village. I reread in preparation for today the Voice for Maplewood Residents survey, as well as all of the comments from the open houses. And I do have just a couple, just to get it off my chest, based on that feedback, a couple of points where I feel that the developer has exercised a certain level of flexibility. Most importantly, those owner-occupied options, including 13 single-family homes. I know that the Frankie subdivision was really pushing for exclusively either park or exclusively single-family, but again, the financing required that we be flexible and compromise. No traffic on Krenz except for those single-family homes. No construction traffic allowed on Frankie subdivision roads. Public park for all neighborhood kids to enjoy, and green space within the development. Maybe not as much as we would like, but again, some flexibility. Privacy fencing and screening for specific properties. An establishment of an HOA, which will have the ability to prevent or limit rentals for the owner-occupied options. I know it was a concern of some folks in the room that a corporation could come in and buy them and just rent them. But if there's an HOA, we have bylaws that can limit that type of behavior. Substantial impact fees to our taxing bodies, increased capacity for rainwater runoff, as well as improvement to existing sewer infrastructure that's in the Frankie neighborhood. We're going to be providing new housing for young professionals starting their careers, and also on the other end of that spectrum for our older population looking to downsize into something that they can be proud of and maintain their independence. And the developer team will not see any TIF incentives until the apartments are built and occupancy begins. In turn, we're being asked tonight to be flexible on a myriad of points here that have been outlined. And I think that's what they need in order to make this a successful project. At least that's what I'm understanding. I agree that the overall density and the building heights are a big concession on the village's part. I did like to see those step downs, although it's not reducing the entire height. I think that the step downs, the additional parking that was worked in is nice to see. This nudges many of us out of our comfort zone, but I think in the long run, the project will be a big benefit to the village of Cary. And thank you for giving me all that time, but had to get it off my chest.
Absolutely. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Trustee McAlpin, are you ready, or do you want to pass for a minute? Okay. Trustee Stefani.
First off, well said. Second off, Brian, can you go to the setbacks for me? The slide that had the setbacks. Yeah, let's start with this one. So North Prairie Street, is there a reason why, I understand the setback of the 15 feet, why did you just not cut that road off and then you wouldn't have a setback then?
It would, yeah, we looked at that, so the roadway potentially would be cut off at the driveway location.
Yeah.
So there'd be a location for snow to be accumulated at the end of the pavement area. But the right-of-way is essentially, that's still there. If I can get my image here. So the pavement, we would look at cutting off at this location, but the right-of-way still goes to that location. So the structure would be set back further than 15 feet from the pavement location, but the setback goes to the edge of right-of-way. So that's where that requirement would be. So eliminating the pavement would not change that setback requirement.
Got it. Second question, how many times has the developer been through zoning?
This developer through the zoning process? With the village, once.
Just
One
once?
zone here, yes.
Okay. This might be a question more for the developer. The AC units for the apartment complexes, is that planned to go on top, or is it going to go on the bottom?
Can you come up to the podium, please?
And I asked that just because Palatine Station and other apartment complexes as well, it's not on their original rendering, but it is on the first floor. So I'm just
So
curious.
all the apartment units will have the P-TEC units, which will,
Okay.
or sorry, the V-TEC units, which will be within the unit, and we will have louvers outside on the elevation. Those are represented on the renderings as well. And the common areas will be on the top of the roof, where you will see the little gap on the roof at the top. So it will be
Awesome.
not visible from the roadside at all.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mhm.
I appreciate that. And then my last question is around the I apologize, got a brain fart. We're going to R1, right?
From R2 to B1.
R2 to B1, thank you. Is there a reason why we waited this long in the game to make that switch?
Yes, generally from a zoning standpoint, with the comprehensive plan, the future land use that was envisioned for the site is multifamily housing. And then with not initializing that zoning from the village's standpoint, it gives the village control over the type of development that comes in, so it's an action item that a developer has to request relief for as part of their project. So that's why it's remained as R2 since the comprehensive plan was passed, pending a zoning submittal to align the two documents together.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Trustee Collier?
Next. David took a lot of my thunder, but thank you. I have some technical questions. Can we talk about interior lighting a little bit, or is that part of it for the apartment end of it? Because I know that was a concern brought up.
As far as lighting, so the developer has not put together photometric plans as of yet. From a design perspective, that's something we typically address at the permit stage. They will need to comply with illumination levels at the property line and within the development. There's maximum illumination levels that you can have in a site, but also from a fixture standpoint, they would need to be full cutoff downward aiming fixtures. So those would address light to the property as opposed to on adjacent properties.
Would that be considered even for single-family townhomes and the apartments? Are all the same lighting code?
So the lighting code at the property line cannot exceed certain level. The single-family homes and townhomes would also, generally, we'd review the lighting levels at the property line from that standpoint. Generally, the light fixtures that are on residential structures would not be that full cutoff. It could be a candelabra or something, a porch light that would illuminate the existing residential structure from that standpoint. But the illumination levels would still have to comply at the property line to adjacent properties.
All right, my second question was about fire system. Is sprinkler systems coded for the apartments?
Yes, all the single-family attached products, the townhomes and duplexes, and the multifamily would need to be sprinklered under our code. Only the single-family detached would not need to be sprinkled.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Trustee Dudek.
First off, I would like to echo everything David said, and was said very, very well. So we could not, I don't think anybody could say it better, so thank you for that. This would be the 5th development or 4th that's been proposed?
4th or 5th.
4th or 5th. So Eric, Brian, can either of you kind of give us a unit number that's kind of gone from the very first developer that came to where we are now, kind of a history?
I don't have the numbers in front of me at this point. I know in general they're similar scope and scale from this standpoint as far as what was proposed and what's currently proposed.
Yeah,
but previous developments did have more units.
Yeah, I think that's my point.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
my
there's
recollection
like
is
400
every one of them was more, and I don't think any of them ever had any owner-occupied proposed that I can remember.
No, they were all rental was proposed.
Okay. Thank you for that. I do want to thank the developers for the number of changes that you've gone through. I think the exterior changes to get some variety so it doesn't look straight across as all one building is a big plus. I read in the presentation that owners will have the option of color, adding more brick, that type of thing. Hopefully that is not going to be priced to a point where people won't take it, because I think that variety will make it only that much better looking. There was a comment made about this doesn't look like anything in the area, and I'm not going to disagree with that comment at all, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think when we put up Garden Place apartments, it didn't look like anything off of First Street by any means, and that's probably one of our nicest developments to date. When we did Cary Senior Living, that doesn't look like anything in Cary either. In fact, everything that we put up nowadays doesn't look like most anything in Cary. So that's changed. That's inevitable. Product, as you guys know better than anybody up here, product types change over time. What's popular one day is not popular 10 or 15 years later. So I commend you for the work. Certainly, I don't think there's anybody up here that wouldn't be happier if there was less volume here, but we also understand it has to make financial sense, or it will sit for another 16 years, and the residents of Cary won't be getting a dime off of it like they haven't for the last. So with that, I'll render my time to Trustee Walrath and Trustee McAlpine.
Thank you. No, I prefer, thank you. I think the summary that Trustee Pacino made was very eloquent and actually put it all out in front of kind of the long road, and I was appreciative of his personal aspect to it. You know, the couple things that I would echo are I am very appreciative of the amount of changes. There have been a lot of formal comments, both here in person and in writing from residents. There's been a lot of commentary. I would separate the two, the comments and the commentary. There's been a lot of very useful suggestions that have been taken into account. And I have lived in Cary since it was a closed school and saw all of the variations. And I too recall, 4 or 5 unit, or 4 or 5 story high, hundreds of units, 400 plus, all rentals. So this is a tremendous collaboration between what we're asking for and what they're delivering. I don't think it looks like anything in Cary right now, but I also think the building we're sitting in didn't look like anything in Cary before it was built. And that is kind of the nature of the change, which some of you spoke to. The last piece that I'll add, and it's a repetition of some things that I've said in the past, which are, it's not that the folks sitting here or on the zoning board or on the staff don't hear you. It's just that we might not agree. And that's okay. You all have one opinion, we have another opinion. That's fine. We don't have the opportunity in this governmental body or others to let only the people in immediate access vote and be in charge of what happens. You know, that would leave me with one tiny corner with a golf course in Foxford Hills. That would lead others with only the... It doesn't work that way. I understand that you live there and it's going to be much more impactful than it is for everybody else, and I appreciate that. But if I have a different opinion on what I think this is going to do for the overall Cary, for the village and those of us here, that's got to be okay. We have separate opinions. And I appreciate those of you who have taken the time to voice them to us in the group and to show up at all the different events that we've had. So thanks again to the developers for their presentation and mostly for all the changes they made along the way.
Trustee McAlpine, please.
Okay, well, to wrap it up, I do echo the sentiments of what everyone else has been sharing, and I do appreciate the personal aspects of David playing there on the baseball fields. My kids all played there too, and we're umping and spent a lot of time getting dirty over there. So I do understand that this is difficult. If you can recall, when this very first came before us, I said if this was for us to vote up or down on it, I would have voted down because there needed to be a lot of changes. And I do think that the developers have really taken the time to listen. And to me, the biggest thing is the going from the less dense up to the higher density, the closer you get to the railroad tracks. It has been successful in other areas. You know, I appreciate what Mr. Gallinera said about, you know, we're not Arlington Heights. I would agree. I don't think this will ever be Arlington Heights. I don't think that's what we're looking to do. We're looking at a piece of property that has sat vacant for 16 years. We've had multiple developers come here. Every single one of them have come up with something similar, except for this one, as we've talked about over and over, listened, incorporated the multitude of different housing options from owner-occupied to duplexes to townhouses, and I think that's because of your input as well. You know, if you guys weren't talking about that, that may not have been thought of by anyone. If everyone just said, I don't want anything, then we would have been stuck with, hey, we're going to have all rentals, and we don't have that product right here. So I do appreciate, I definitely am happy with the changes you made with the, some of the changes with the architecture, the design, because I was one that I felt like it was like too monotonous. I'm like, I don't want it to look like it's, you know, institutional. I didn't like that look. So I appreciate that you're going to have some diversity there. And, you know, our goal is to bring a product to the village and to our residents that we all can be proud of. It's very hard. We know right now there's everyone here has not had anything positive to say about it. So it's very hard to sit up here to have you think that because we might vote differently than you that we don't care about what you have to say. Because that's not true. We have listened. We have relayed that information. We have had numerous conversations. I have numerous conversations with many of you about these type of things and changes that needed to be made. And I do feel like there's been a very concerted effort, a lot of compromise, a lot of collaboration, and I really appreciate that the builder, the developers have been respectful of that and worked with with Brian and Eric and everyone else to come up with this plan. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you. I appreciate all the comments that have been made by my fellow board members. This has been a process. This has been a long, long process. I've been sitting in this chair honorably for 14 years. This has been something that my constituents tell me about all the time. What are you doing with that vacant piece of property? Why isn't it developed? Well, I'm going to tell you why it hasn't developed. Because we haven't found a developer, or we hadn't found a developer that would meet our needs. As it's been mentioned by my fellow board, we've had developers come in, all they wanted was 100% rental, 4- and 5-story buildings, no parks, no listening to what we want. And you know what? We said no. We listened to what you guys wanted. Then we had another developer come in, basically the exact same thing. We're like, no, you're not understanding. This is not what the village of Cary is looking for. This is a project that is monumental to the village of Cary right now. We took our time. We are developing something that is going to be historical. We wanted to emulate what our community is about. I want this to be an iconic development. We looked at and we listened to all of your concerns, and we have implemented this in this development. It's been tough. It's hard. It's hard to look at somebody's face that just doesn't want any changes. I understand that, but look at these developments and find something you like and let that resonate with you about what is going to be good for the community. We listened to you. You said that you wanted single-family homes. The developer accommodated that. You didn't like the 3-story townhomes. Developer changed that. We reduced the size of some of the apartment buildings. We took off the edges of the 5-story buildings to make them not look as obtrusive as some people call it. I think they're beautiful. No, I don't want to be Arlington Heights or Mount Prospect or a Palatine. I want it to be Cary. I believe this is what Cary is about. Arlington Heights, Palatine, and Mount Prospect have 10, 15-story buildings. I don't ever see that as being a part of our plan. Talking about planning, we have been planning for this since 2015. A lot of you, I see in this room right here, participated in our comprehensive planning process. You participated in our strategic planning processes. These are all community engagements. These are all one-on-one communications that we have had with our residents, especially in this area. We have listened. And I believe, truthfully, that the developer has met our needs. This is something that is reflective of what our great community is. And I believe that this is something that will stand the test of time. It's going to be a well-capitalized investment for the developer as well as for the residents of Cary. I talk to a lot of people. People come into my office all the time. A lot of your neighbors in the Frankie subdivision think this is the best thing. They think this is the best thing that's happened to your neighborhood. They're tired of looking at the vacant building. They're tired of looking at the dilapidated park equipment. And I said, we're working on it. There are only a few things that more we can do before we move this thing forward. We have heard, we've listened, we've put all these things together. We found a developer that was willing to listen, a developer that listened to you as a community. And I think that we're delivering on something that you will all be proud of. So with that, one of the things that was brought up that I've had several comments, and I've forgotten, our attorney mentioned it to me, is about the access road. People were concerned about residents within the larger development with the townhouses and the multifamily apartments that they would be infiltrating the Frankie subdivision. Well, we made that not happen too. So the single-family homes, albeit small lot, some people may not like that, but they're big in the residential market right now. They are big, but they are the only units that will have access to Krenz and to the rest of the downtown from that area. So again, we have taken everything. This isn't something that happened like 2 months ago when we're ramming this, trying to get it done. We've been working on this for 16 years, and I know that there are people that aren't happy, and I feel bad that you're unhappy, but we have to move these things forward. If we don't offer these things, I have a lot of seniors that have asked, I see a lot of seniors all the time, why do people not want this? I want to downsize. I want to move there. They're snowbirds. They have places elsewhere. They want to be able to have an apartment that they can move to and just leave when they want and not worry about their house. So, they don't want to pay property taxes. I hear that all the time. That's something that's very important to this board about property taxes. This is going to help us. So, enough said. Any other comments from the board? Nothing? You wanted me to change something on the motion? I've already made the motion. Okay.
So the motion has been made and seconded. I'd like to suggest to the individual that made the motion that they revise the motion to add, and I can give you this language, Nick, after the meeting. To add to the last recital in the ordinance, the draft ordinance, based on the information the board has received and reviewed from the ZPA, that last recital would read, as revised, whereas the mayor and village board have determined that the various standards of the village code as found by the ZPA have been met, and that the zoning map amendment and plan development for the Cary Station PUD are in the best interest of the village of Cary. So what is added is that the various standards of the village code as found by the ZPA have been met. They have shared their recommendation with you in your packet, and that information, I believe, should be included in the ordinance as a clarification.
So we had the motion to, do you accept that? And who had the second, you? Okay. Okay, we have a motion on the table. Nick, roll call, please.
Persina,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Walrath,
Yes.
Collier,
Yes.
Stefani,
Yes.
Dudek.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for the record, I support this as well. Okay, moving forward, staff updates. Nick, do you have anything for us?
Just two things. I think it's, there we go. We have Cary Cruise Nights kicking off tomorrow night on Wednesday. I believe it's from 6 to 8:30, so feel free to come out and support the annual Cruise Nights. Also, this past Sunday, the Cary Farmers Market kicked off as well. They'll be open every Sunday, 9 to 1 until September 27th.
Chief Hayes? Director Noonan?
Quickly approaching is our community cleanup day this Saturday, June 6th. We're going to meet at the Alfresco Alley. Public's welcome. We ask that you call Public Works to let us know who's you're coming with, how many people are going to be in your party. Like I mentioned, we'll meet at Alfresco Alley at 8:30 on Saturday, June 6th.
Thank you. Director Simmons? You're tired, yeah. I appreciate, again, to the developer. And I have to give kudos to our staff. We've had back-to-back, somewhat controversial projects that will benefit the village of Cary for years to come. These are projects that took a lot of our time, our staff time. I give you thanks and praise for doing it, especially Director Simmons, and going through all the zoning processes. It's been hard. So we thank you for your help, and especially to our fearless leader here, Director, oh my gosh, I'm tired too. Our administrator, Eric, who oversees all the day-to-day operations and makes sure that all these things get taken care of on a timely basis. There's a lot of deadlines that we have to meet. So any future agenda items and discussion by the village board?
I'd like to try to get an update on the planting of trees from the storm. The replacements, what the schedule looks like, how many we're actually replacing. That'd be awesome.
Okay. And we're going to cancel executive session this evening, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 7:37.